All right, in 9.5, we're going to actually solve quadratics using the quadratic formula. So remember our formula, it's right here. We want to make sure you know this. You have this memorized when test day comes. This you need to know. Negative b plus or minus the square root of b squared minus 2 times a times c all over 2a. So we're going to use that today to find the roots, the zeros, or the solutions of our quadratics. Okay? So let's just dive right into this. Now remember, we got to know what a is. So in this equation, a is 1, b is negative 5, and c is 4. So I'm not always going to do that, but I just kind of want you to get in the habit. So now I show my work and plug everything in. So negative b would make that a positive 5 plus or minus the square root. Negative 5 squared minus 4 times a times c all over 2 times a. All right, now let's clean that up. So it's going to be 5 plus or minus. Now let's think through this. Negative 5 squared is 25. So 25 minus 4 times 4 is 16. That gives me 9. So it's the square root of 9 over 2. Now, remember what we did previously. Since this is a real number and it's positive, we know that there are going to be two real number solutions ahead of us. All right, so we need to finish this out. We know what the square root of 9 is, so we do this. We're going to do 5 plus 3 over 2 gives me 8 over 2, which is 4. And then I'm going to do 5 minus 3. That's what the plus or minus does for us, over 2. So subtract first, 2 over 2, which gives me 1. So one solution is 4, 0, and one solution is 1, 0. Write them as coordinate pairs. Let's try the next one. Number 2 is 3x squared plus 3x equals 2. So hopefully you notice that this is not standard form, so I've got to move my 2 over first before I can use quadratic formula. So I have 3x squared plus 3x minus 2 equals 0. Now I can use my quadratic formula. So negative b would be negative 3 plus or minus the square root of b squared, so 3 squared minus 4 times a times c all over 2 times a. Okay, so let's clean this up. So it's going to be negative 3 plus or minus. Let's think through this. It's going to be, in here it's 9 minus, so 4 times 3 is 12. 12 times 2 is 24, but it's going to be negative 24, so it'll be 9 plus 24, which gives me a 33. So it's going to be the square root of 33 all over 2 times 3 is 6. Okay, again, it's a positive number under there, so that means I have two real number solutions, okay? But square root of 33 is not pretty. It's not going to reduce. I can't factor it down into anything reducible. So this is my simplest radical form. And that's how I need to leave my answer. So my answer will look just like this, okay? Don't try to reduce it, leave it just like that. Let's try another one. 9 minus 6x equals negative x squared. So that negative x squared is not in the right place. I need to move this guy over here because I want it to be positive x squared before I try to do quadratic formula. So I'm going to have x squared minus 6x plus 9 equals 0. Let's do this. So negative b would be positive 6 plus or minus the square root b squared. So negative 6 squared minus 4 times a, which is 1, c, which is 9, all over 2 times a, which is 1. So 6 plus or minus. All right, what's going on in here? Let's see. Negative 6 squared is 36. Negative, it's going to be, say negative, minus 36, guess what? That's 0. So it's plus or minus the square root of 0 over 2. All right, remember what that means. If it's 0 under here, it means that there is one real root, real solution, but it's a double solution, okay? So I need to finish this out. So I'm going to have 6 over 2, which is what, 3? So 3, 0 is my solution, and it's a double. So I need to write next to it, it's a double root, okay? Double root. Let's look at number 4. 4 says x squared plus 3x plus 8 equals 0. All right, let's dive in. Negative b is negative 3 plus or minus the square root of b squared minus 4 times a times c, all of it over 2a. So negative 3, now let's clean up what's going on in here. I have 3 squared is 9, minus 32, which gives me a negative 23. All right, so remember, I'm going to plus or minus the square root of negative 23. All of that, over 2a, but I should have written a as 1 down here. Sorry about that. So that's just over 2. Now, I can clean this up, most definitely. If it's negative, remember what that means? That means there's 2 imaginary roots going on. 2 imaginary solutions. So I need to clean that up, move that negative out by taking an I out. So it's going to be I square root of 23 over 2. And I don't want to reduce any further. That's where I want to leave my solution. And that's it for today. I just want you to practice using quadratic formula and using those properties that we looked at yesterday to find the solutions that it was given. Now I know before you tune me out, you're like, well, hold on, this is not an ordered pair. Well, it's really messy to write this as an ordered pair when it's in plus or minus mode, when you can't reduce the radical. So don't worry about it if that's the scenario. The same thing happened up here on number 2. It did not reduce nicely, so I'm not going to write it as an ordered pair. When it does reduce nicely, I want you to write it as an ordered pair. Hope that makes sense, and we'll see you in class.